Hi, this is Doug Manch, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 125. It's 1.25 century. I am your host, the High Priest of Khonshu Rey. And if you look outside through your window, you'll notice it's a full moon tonight. And with the full moon, Khonshu has decreed that we are doing a Moon and Stars segment. So we will be covering Moon Knight on film in this episode, and I have a very special guest with me. I'd like to give a warm welcome to Caden Butera. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, I'm very excited as well, Caden. It's been a while. I mean, we have been trying to align the stars, so to speak, to kind of get you on.
Right, yeah, I'm the worst to play phone tag with.
Oh, look, no worries. I mean, we both have schedules and understandably quite busy. So, actually, we'll get into that because I know you've got, you sound like a busy guy with the filmmaking. It's quite an interesting endeavor.
Yeah, I got some exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, fantastic.
More or less.
Fantastic. Well, Loonies, tonight, this is the reason why we have Caden on the show. Of course, most of you will know there has been a lot of groundswell in our community. This was earlier on in the year, but Caden wrote and directed and cinematography as well. What do you call that, Caden?
Cinematography, you nailed it.
Cinematography. He created a fan film for Moon Knight. So some of you will notice on our newsletter the link there. If you have not watched it yet, I'm sure a lot of loonies have already watched it. But we're here to kind of review it and speak to the man himself all about it. It should be quite interesting, Caden. First off, though, just want to actually kind of get a background because literally this is the first time we are speaking.
Yes, it is.
So we're coming in fresh. We're doing this over Skype. So, Caden, I've noticed Paradox Studios is what this fan film is under. Can you tell us a little bit about the studio that you've created?
Absolutely. So, Paradox Studios is my production company, and it's been around for maybe 2 years or so, but fun fact about me is I've basically been doing filmmaking since I was 8 years old. Slowly but surely making bad films and making slightly less bad films as time progressed. But Paradox Studios is where I do my projects from, whether it's freelance videography or actually passion projects. And Moon Knight was one of passion project. I wish I got paid for that. Be great. But
cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's a first disclaimer is that, I'm doing this through passion, not through I'm not affiliated with Marvel or anything like that. And it's something I need to, adamantly disclose.
Yes, of course.
Just so I don't, frighten the beast that is Disney. So not affiliated with them at all, not actually officially licensed or anything. This is something I did through my own production company for nonprofit. But yeah, sorry to make that kind of a legal statement, but you can't be too careful, you know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly. I mean, doing a Moon Knight podcast, I guess there's only certain things we can do as well.
Right.
But it's really cool. So you've created your own production studio. When was that kind of established? You mentioned you started filmmaking, at an early age at 8. When did it actually get off the ground on a professional kind of level?
I mean, in some ways, it still hasn't, and in other ways, it did. I think really around 5 or 6 years ago, where I finally started investing in some more proper equipment. Not that that's what you need to make good stuff, but putting a little more money into the gear I was using and making a few more connections along the way until the point where I actually had a decent cast and crew that I could pull from and other talented locals in the area, and that's where I really started pulling my pulling all the connections I had and making bigger, I guess to say, projects like this. So before Moon Knight, we made the project before that was a sci-fi shot like 40 minutes from my home with a bunch of local actors using like vacuum tubes as the helmet, and we still don't have a huge budget, but bringing together the connections and trying to make it look like we kind of know what we're doing sometimes, and that's for people to decide whether or not we have.
Directing and filmmaking, it seems like, look, I've had a little bit. I dabbled a little bit when I was at university, not studying film. I did it as an elective, and one of my good friends at the time, he went on. He was a director, very passionate guy about his film, loved his film. I was privileged to be on set as part of his crew for a few of his projects. But it's a massive undertaking. I mean, you've got to...
Yeah.
How do you network? How do you, like, at that early stage then, you're talking about the local talent, local actors, how do you network and get your cast and crew together? More so your crew. How do you get your crew, your first AD and all that? I
mean, how it really starts is because I've been doing it since I was 8, my first cast member was my brother, whether he liked it or not, roping him in there. And then slowly and surely, I had a cast and crew of my brother and my best friend, and so on and so forth. And that's how you kind of start. You pull, you work with who you like to work with. I wasn't exactly roping in complete strangers, convincing them that I was gonna make a high-end production. I was like 10 years old. I can't really make that promise. So it starts by just working with people you like that are your friends, and slowly but surely, if your chances are your friends are maybe like-minded and into the same stuff as you are. So one of the main collaborators on Moon Knight is actually someone who's not even pursuing film. He's just a really good friend of mine. His name's Joe. And he worked on the costumes and the art department, and actually ended up co-directing the thing just because we were on such the same page of the project, and we jive so well creatively that he ended up becoming a huge instrumental part. Then there's the actual actors where I go to a local talent agency, or I know a friend of a friend who's in theater, and then fortunately through making a couple projects, I've made amazing connections with a stunt coordinator in town by the name of Jerry Bucksbaum, and I'm sorry that I'm going to just name a bunch of people, but I love these people. These people are my favorite. I feel like they all deserve a million shout-outs, so I'm just going to read this list here I have prepared. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, through connections and through just friendships, roping people in, and for projects like this, Moon Knight specifically, people are not getting paid. This is not. I didn't have thousands of dollars to dish out. I wish I did, because these people gave me super quality work.
Yeah,
but they all did it because they either were fans of the character Moon Knight, or liked working on film with me and just wanted to hang out for the free pizza. But that's maybe a long answer, but that's kind of the long and short of it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it certainly is a phenomenal effort, that the short film of Moon Knight. We'll get to it when we really dive deep into the production quality. So it really, to be honest, Caden, it kind of floored me a bit seeing it, because I've seen a few fan films around, online, and obviously doing this Moon Knight podcast, I was searching for Moon Knight ones. I had come across a few. They were fun, they were kind of what I like to say, very passionate, and I have to respect the passion that people put into it, because it's a lot of hard work,
Absolutely.
Your production value, it floored me. Just the lighting, the camera work, the acting as well, and the writing. It was all kind of top tier. And we'll jump a bit to the film, but I just wanted to say, because you got a bit of attention with this short film, with the Moon Knight film. There were a lot of articles people noticed, which was must have been really cool.
A first for me.
Really? Yeah.
I'm used to putting things out there and getting like, a good 30 views, I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but this was the first project I'd put out there that actually got some attention. And I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't because it's named after a pre-existing Marvel character,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really exciting to see like comicbook.com.
Yeah.
And the Sci-Fi The Wire, and it's a big places share it. I mean, and then you reaching out to me, a Moon Knight podcast was super exciting. Like it's been, I feel like a bit of a poser. Like, how did I fake my way to this?
It was all, the attention was all certainly justified, really. So it was really good. But I mean, you mentioned as well, it is a Marvel character, but he's not. I mean, let's be honest, he's not a well-known character, really.
Yeah. Absolutely not.
So it still surprised me that people were. There's always been a little bit of a discussion because of the Netflix shows with Daredevil and Luke Cage and Iron Fist. The question was always, Moon Knight's got to be next. So I guess there was that was like playing to it, and again, to be honest. With our podcast, which we started a couple of years ago, part of the aim was to try and capture that, because we saw the Netflix shows doing so well, and we thought, Moon Knight's he's a pretty cool character, and he's got to be on the screen sooner or later. So we thought we'd give it a go.
Hype train, yeah,
exactly. But no, you did really well with it. So again, we'll get into that. I want to go back to Paradox Studios. You mentioned also one of the first early ones where it was like a sci-fi film that you did. Was there a particular angle, and you've done a Marvel Comics one now as well, is there a particular angle or a agenda for Paradox Studios? Are you aiming for sci-fi or fantasy?
Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I get kind of asked like, oh, you want to make movies? What type of movies do you want to make? And for the most part, I always kind of have the same answer, which may frustrate some people, but it's like whatever has a good story, which is the most vague way I can answer that question. You're welcome. but I mean, typically, I am really sci-fi based, and really the superhero and the sci-fi scene is what I probably know the most and watch the most. That being said, I really am interested in anything. So Paradox Studios, the main goal is to, just talking long picture here, is to begin making feature films, and primarily in I really like character driven semi spectacle pieces. So like it's based on character, but has maybe a hint of heightened reality in there, like a superpower. Or a zombie plague, or the future, something like that. That's what I tend to gravitate towards, and that is the dream, to someday get paid to actually make feature length films that fit that category.
Oh, well, that's certainly a dream worth pursuing, for sure.
I hope so.
Are you daunted by the fact that these kind of genres that you talk about and that you kind of gravitate towards? They do require, even if you look at the Moon Knight one as well, the action sequences, sci-fi, the special effects, the gore and the violence. There's a lot more to it. Is that something that you are attracted to? That's like quite a good challenge, or is it? I mean, because you could, I could just say, Caden, why don't you just do, I don't
Christmas
know,
rom-coms or something?
or even something as simple, I mean, as look at Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs, right?
Yeah.
Very simple. It could almost be, it has been turned into a play because it's just dialogue, and you just have one set.
Isolated, one room type of deal, yeah.
I mean, that's an easy of way to, to make a film.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, in a way, it is, it's. I'm choosing genres that require more than just like a couple people in a room sometimes, which makes things a little more challenging. Like if I wrote a script, but it takes place on a spaceship, well, there goes, all my money, or I just throw the script away. I like it because it is a challenge, and it also makes me forced to really get to the bottom of, okay, what is this story really about? What is this character's journey really about? Yes, it'd be cool to have a super big spectacle set piece here, or have a long sequence of like zero gravity here, but can I convey the same theme just as with just the same impact, but via dialogue, or maybe not even dialogue at all, but showing something in a room, showing the character's pain of daily routine, something like that. It's a cool challenge. And so when I find out, oh, maybe I can pull off a superhero fight sequence, how do I still make that small but feel big with select moments?
Okay,
and
right.
that's where in some ways, and this is maybe a little controversial, but a lot of Hollywood movies today, because they have like Aquaman has millions and millions of dollars, and they can do anything they want. They're like, how about we add sharks and lasers and this and that, and they just throw it all up on screen. And I know a lot of people like Aquaman, but for me, sometimes it gets a little like convoluted. Like, is the story really about all these sharks and lasers, or should we be focusing on like the character's journey here? And I know people might hit me over the head for criticizing Aquaman for some good parts of that movie. But you know, if they can really hone in on the heart of things and skip some of the spinning rims, so to speak, it oftentimes makes a more impactful story, in my opinion.
Oh, I can see that as well, and I'd agree. I mean, there were a spate of films, I don't know, early to mid 2000s, where you can tell this new CGI technology was in place.
Right.
It was like, I think it was like Lord of the Rings, you know, with the multiple, like the armies of thousands.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you get all these films like I, Robot and, zombie movies where you get casts of like thousands of bodies, like CGI bodies coming in.
Right.
And it was just more the fact of just putting that special effect in for the sake of just putting it in, rather than and it just seemed to detract from it, because it just seemed to be a CGI spectacle rather than anything else. And exactly as you say with Aquaman, I haven't seen that. I'm pretty sure it's don't want to insult any listeners as well. Yeah, I'm sure it's a good film as well, but yeah, I can see that happening because there's a lot of CGI involved. You want to dazzle the moviegoers, and what better way than to add some bells and whistles and just like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not saying that, large spectacle scenes can't be great if the backbone of it is rooted in story and character. For example, Endgame has some of the biggest CGI fests of all time, and I ate up every second of that, because for me, it was just a million character moments and payoffs all happening all at once, and it just happened to require a buttload of CGI visual effects from some very talented visual effects artists, but some of it all depends on what tools you're using and how you're actually using them. But no, I 100% agree.
I think the word there, the operative word that you mentioned, payoff, was why it was so successful. Endgame, because 10 years in the making, and they marketed it as 10 years in the making. This is a culmination of everything. And the Russos, they delivered. They fan serviced it.
Yeah, they did. They did. I could talk about that movie forever.
Well, this is a good little segue as well. So are you a huge comic book fan? Do you read a lot? And if so, who do you read? Aquaman?
Right. I'm gonna be labeled as the guy who hates Aquaman. No, I actually hate comic books. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh God, I almost choked then.
Be a rough podcast to continue from. But no, I am a really big comic book lover. I hesitate to use the word big because I know that there's probably people who are way more knowledgeable and bigger than me. I could be like, I'm a huge comic book fan, and then someone will throw a curveball question at me, and I'm like, I'm a fake fan,
Look, Caden, Caden, you know what I say to that, though? I say, don't worry about that. Like, I think about that as well, and you don't have to be, a big fan can't be measured in quantity, as in
Right.
knowledge and all the collection and stuff. It certainly does help. I mean, it certainly does show that you are dedicated. But you can be the biggest fan that you want and still, not know everything.
I like that. Yeah. Make me feel better about myself. Yeah. So anyway, I'm the biggest comic book fan in the world.
That's it.
And but no, I comic books have been huge for me in a lot of ways. And the reason why I love the medium so much is because there's so much of it coming out all the time, meaning it's nothing but artists taking risks 24/7. Movies can take risks, but every minute of screen time is millions of dollars and has to be approved by studio heads and has to be asked the question, is this right for the narrative when we go to when we go to movie 4, 5, and 6 and blah blah blah. Comic books is just let's try this. Oh, that didn't work, let's try that. And a lot of times it doesn't work, but it's just like it's a beautiful medium to just try out big ideas. And that's, I think, in a lot of ways why I gravitated towards it as a kid. Especially as a kid when we didn't have the MCU. We had a lot little superhero movies. The comic books is where everything was happening, Yeah.
Oh, you don't need $100 million budget for a comic book, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
no, not at all, yeah.
Still go to outer space, you can
Right, exactly. And so I mean, to answer your question, the comic books that I really read, I mean, Moon Knight is definitely up there.
Good answer.
Gotta mention that.
Good answer.
Right. I've also, I was a big Green Lantern fan.
Oh, nice.
Really like Green Lantern. Yeah, who's not really similar to Moon Knight at all.
No, that's good.
But Batman is up there as well. Spider-Man is probably the guy I own the most issues from. And then I gravitate towards basically anything that Jeff Johns writes for DC. I'm like, I should probably read that.
Okay. I haven't read much. I know of Jeff Johns, and I know the massive legacy he's left for DC. I can't say I've actually read much. I'm not a big DC fan, Caden, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't say fan. I'd say I'm kind of ignorant in it. It's like I don't hate it. It's just that I've never really dipped my toe in it. So
right, no, I get you.
I've been happy in the little Marvel playpen. Dabble with. Do you have you come across Valiant comics as well? I do love.
Oh
them.
yeah. They got some good stuff. Every time I pick it up, the artwork is beautiful.
Artwork is awesome, and the stories are phenomenal. So
I have I've read a couple of them, and they're a while ago. But I know exactly what they are, and it seems like they're up and coming too. Like they're only a couple of years old, aren't they? Or am I thinking?
Oh no, they've been around since the 90s, maybe the 80s.
Oh, all right, maybe not.
Yeah, oh no, but they went through a whole lot of things. They kind of got bought out by someone, I think Gold Key, and then they turned all the characters into video game characters.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
And then something happened with Acclaim, and then now they're back. They got rebooted in 2012, so they've been around for 7 years now. Is in the new iteration. Wow. But yeah, okay. So a lot of are you a singles man, a floppies man, or are you a trade buyer, or are you digital? Do you a bit of everything?
See, I can't really do the digital that much. I guess I'm a purist, so to speak. Like I like like there's no, not that I buy comics to collect them, but I feel like there's no collector's value in like the Kindle edition. I want to like have a physical thing in my hand, and I don't know. I can't do digital. I've only bought a digital comic every once in a while where I was like, I missed that one issue of the Miles Morales run, and I can't see it anywhere. I have to catch up, and then I end up buying the digital. But yeah, most of the time I'm reading the physical issues, or a lot of the times these days graphic novels, because I'm terrible at like buying issues and then at missing 3 of them. I'm like, I should just not read them then. So then I buy a graphic novel. It's all neatly in one place, and it's got the cohesive arc. I'm like, there we go. Yeah,
exactly. And they kind of look nice on the shelf. And
yeah, they do. Yeah, they look great on the shelf.
And you're right. And you're right. As a kind of completist, you got the whole arc there as well. It's nice. It's a nice, neat little package. I love the graphic novels as well. I still collect the floppies. But the only problem with that is that the space. You start losing space trying to.
Yep, that's true.
trying to keep them. So I don't know. Also, trades for me, I like to term as trade worthy. So stories that really have made an impact, or series is, I will maybe even triple. I'll get the digital floppies, and then I'll get the trade because it's just so beautiful to have on the shelf.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So. Miles Morales, shoot off a couple more. What other Moon Knight? What other Marvel characters then? Daredevil? Ooh. Are you a Daredevil fan?
Yeah, no. I mean, It's funny because
Spidey,
now,
you said,
yeah. Spider-Man is the main guy that I read, and a lot of Venom stuff too. Actually,
nice.
The newest Venom run is really good.
It is fantastic.
I'm super behind on it. Once again, I was like, I'm behind on it. Got to stop reading it and just add the graphic novel to my wish list. But that is really cool too. I read a lot of Venom.
I'm just going to spoil you. I'm just going to spoil you. He kills everyone. No, only joking.
Oh, great. Yeah, gotta delete that off my wish list now. I mean, I actually wouldn't be surprised. But I also like some of maybe because I'm like a hipster in a way, I like finding like obscure characters and just really obsessing over them. So like Moon Knight, Prowler, who's like a side character.
Hobie Brown, right?
That's right. Yeah, look at that. You know your stuff. Prowler is actually what our next film project is, and I'll talk about that.
Really?
Yeah, and it's gonna have a little bit of Moon Knight in there as well.
Oh man!
But yeah, so yeah, those are the Spider-Man's like my main dude. Spider-Man, Venom. I've read other stuff every now and then, but like most of my characters that I like from Marvel end up being because I like them from the movies I've seen them in at this point. I love Daredevil because I've seen the Netflix show.
Yeah, which is great. It's great for Marvel, Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've read some Daredevil, and I'm like, yeah, he's cool. And then I see the Netflix show, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I've always loved Daredevil. Always been
exactly.
And that's like, I feel like that's what people do now, and I'm definitely part of it. Like whenever the movie Doctor Strange comes out, oh yeah, I've been reading him for years.
Yeah. I've been
two issues on. Yeah.
I'm the biggest fan. I've been such a big fan of this.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the bulk of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Loonies as well. Caden did self-profess to be a hipster. I'm telling you right now on this Skype conference, Caden's wearing a turtleneck, black skivvy. He's got a pencil-thin moustache, and he's got rose-coloured glasses. It's as hipster as you can get, and a beret. Caden, I really love your beret. That's working really well.
I'm eating a croissant as well. Gluten-free, though.
Of course. Gluten-free. Yeah. Well, again, I guess going into... This would be interesting. Before we get into the big feature, which is the Moon Knight fan film, so we're talking about TV shows. Is that something that you... how does it work? Like, if you're a filmmaker, is it a different... ball game totally to be a TV showrunner? Have you had experience with kind of that? I mean, I don't know how, but have you?
Right. I mean, if anyone is in the film industry listening to me, they might be like, "Oh, Caden, you idiot." But based off my knowledge, and I'm gonna go, based off only what I know, TV and film in so many ways are completely different beasts because number one, the director on a movie directs, the movie. He's the main guy with the vision who is consoling with every department, in theory, every department with the actors and the art department and everything and overseeing the editing and the post-production to make his vision come to life. In television, however, that is more of the producer's job, if it's my understanding. Because if you ever watch a TV show, if you may notice at the end of each episode, most of the time it's a different director. You have Johnny directing episode 1, Tim directing episode 2, Christina directing episode 3, and so forth. And it's basically because they have a larger bulk of content to create and put out there. The overall continuity of the vision is actually coming from the main producers and the creator. So like when you see like Mandalorian, which is a huge show right now, everyone's talking about it. # Baby Yoda. Jon Favreau is cited as the creator and co-writer of that show. But if you notice, each episode that's come out, he hasn't directed yet. He has not directed an episode as of December 13th in their chronological order. It's been like Sally something directed something, blah, blah, blah. And so it's just a kind of a different beast. Yeah. And talking to other actors about it who have been on TV shows, they kind of cite that in a way the continuity and overall vision of their character is way more dependent upon them, the actor, than it is for a movie. Because they're not changing every episode. There's a new director coming every day telling them, like what to do. But they're the ones who's been there since season 2, and it's season 5 now. And they're kind of have more grounds to kind of direct their characters in a way, more or less. And that's what I've heard, and that's been my experience thus far. Of course, someone might be like, "You're completely off on this," but that has been overarching my understanding.
Yeah, and so how does that kind of sit with you? Because you are pretty much a man of all trades at the moment. You do with your films. Sorry.
Out of necessity.
Out of necessity, yeah. So you direct, you write, you produce it as well. Is that something that you would find appealing, being a showrunner, being a producer for the show?
The more and more I think about it, possibly. I mean, as you mentioned, I am kind of juggling wearing a lot of hats right now. And I like do the cinematography along with another super talented cinematographer, Deshaun Bedford, who deserves a shout out. And I end up, script supervising, so to speak, and writing it and all this stuff. And at the end of the day,
sorry, is script supervising, is that cracking the whip?
It is. Cracking the whip is more of the AD's job, the assistant.
Okay.
Script supervisor is, I guess, cracking the whip whenever that pink cup turned green in that one scene, and we need to get that pink cup back because people are going to notice. God damn it. That like continuity and things like that.
Sure.
But I basically become all these things out of necessity. But what I really want is to just hone in on directing and maybe writing, directing, and let. So I can just focus on the main thing at hand, and I don't have to worry about whether or not my characters are in focus, or so I'm not having to, pull the focus on the lens. I can just worry about the one thing I'm supposed to worry about. Have the art director who is talented and capable on their own worry about their own things, and that's kind of what I'm liking. So being like an overarching showrunner or something like that absolutely appeals to me. Being the overarching creative person, whether I'm have the skills to do that, I don't know yet, but I would like to do it. It sounds super fun.
I mean, with all that's going on at the moment, the way that you're kind of honing your craft, it can only be a good thing, because how liberating would it feel then, if you can just, as you say, just focus on that one thing that you want to do and not have to worry about all the others. That must be a really cool thing. Just quickly as well then, and I'm not aiming it towards you or anything like that, but directors and stuff, there's got to be a level of being a bit of a control freak, right, as well? I mean, you want to make sure that, I mean, you can delegate, but you want to make sure that everything is done the way that you want it.
Right, so. What you said, delegating, is like... the thing I suck at sometimes, because especially since I've been used to because I've been doing it since I was a lot younger. I've been doing everything. I've been, when I first started, I was putting the camera on the tripod and then walking in the frame to act in the movie. So I've been used to handling every single stupid little thing. So now all of a sudden I have to let other people do it, but I know how to do it best. And what if they do it wrong? I have like lighting people, and then I'm like, okay, this is what we need to do to the light. And instead of letting them do it, I walk over and do it. And they're like, Kate, let us let us do our job. I'm like, oh shoot. So it's something I'm learning to get better at is not trying to do every single thing. Like I said before, I'm surrounded by my super capable and talented friends and professionals who know how to do their job, and I brought them on for that reason. And then sometimes you just gotta, delegate those tasks and let them do it. And it's basically like directing is in a way like controlling a ship. You're there to tell the crew what to do, but you're not there to actually, pull all the ropes. You're there to, every now and then if the ship is slightly going the wrong way, you just pull it slightly back and let everyone do their thing. Is more or less how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. I mean, if you do have a creative vision, it must be hard then to balance that with knowing what's in your head and how you'd like things to turn out. But I guess at the same time that the magic does happen when you do let other people who are, just as creative, maybe bring something to the table and things kind of morph from there. And I think that's, the best examples of film are probably a culmination of that. It's not just one person, driving the whole thing. Everyone kind of brings things in. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Sticking with the TV side of things, just a couple more things I wanted to ask. Disney Plus, the Moon Knight series. Now, as we mentioned before, we've been trying a few times to have this chat, which is really cool. When did the Moon Knight film come out? When you released it?
My Moon Knight?
Yeah.
That came out January 27th of last year. I remember it because it's my birthday.
January 7th last year.
27th, yeah.
Wow. Because I thought maybe we came late to the party. I thought we saw it when it kind of dropped, but it doesn't seem like it seemed like a lot. It seems like a long time. Anyway, what I'm saying is that it's been a while.
It's only been a year.
Yeah, we've been kind of going back and forth about trying to get a spot, and now we have this big news drop that Disney Plus are releasing a Moon Knight TV series, which is obviously everything that all the loonies have been wanting. What are your thoughts on the TV show? Now, having done a fan film already on Moon Knight, what would you like to see in it? What are your expectations for it?
That's a good question. Yeah, I forgot that they were doing a show. No, I'm just kidding. It's been what that's like that question you asked me is because I live in a small town, and whenever like something exciting like a superhero movie gets made, everyone's like, "Hey, you're the Moon Knight guy." Yeah, so for cool. like ever since that came out, nice. Everyone all the time, "Hey, Caden, did you hear about the Moon Knight show? You're the Moon Knight guy, right?" I'm like,
"That's so cool."
Yeah, I did hear about that. I'm like, yes, I've heard. I know about it. Why wouldn't I know about it? I'm the Moon Knight guy. I know about it. But basically, when I first heard the news, I was like almost like a little sad because I was like, oh man, I guess my dumb little fantasy about me being the guy who's gonna make the Moon Knight series is gone out the window, isn't it? Which is obviously just like a dumb little fantasy. But overall, I am super excited to see what they do for it. I mean, I did my best on my spin, and we tried our hardest. But I'm honestly just looking forward to how the guys over at Marvel and with a lot more money and probably a better guy than I am is gonna craft their version of Moon Knight, and I'm super excited. And if it turns out terrible, I might give myself just a little pat on the back. But no, I don't really see it turning out terrible. I think it's I'm curious as to what the approach is going to be, whether it's going to be grittier like the Netflix shows, or if it's going to be similar to their like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type shows, which is more on the whimsical, not whimsical, but it's a more lighthearted action adventure versus like the Daredevil Netflix stuff is more like almost gritty thriller action stuff.
Yeah.
I personally would like to see that version of Moon Knight over the like the extra light adventure side, but it could work either way, in my opinion. I mean, everyone has their own different opinion on what or who Moon Knight is and how the story works. And I've read a decent amount of Moon Knight stuff, and there's a lot of Moon Knight stuff out there that is completely light in action, and Moon Knight quips just like Spider-Man, and he's like jumping out of helicopters as Marlene is wearing this ridiculous like one suit bikini shooting machine guns. Like I have this issue. I don't even know what it was. I was like, okay, this is interesting. But like there is that version of the character out there too, and that could be fun. And then there's also like the David Hudson, Fincher,
Charlie Houston, David Finch.
Yeah, David Finch. That's the guy. That's just complete brooding, as gritty as it can get. Just tormented version of the character. And then there is, of course, the very original, which is kind of a mixture of both. And so I don't know what they're going to do. Like we have nothing to work on. We have the titles that they released. The title says Moon Knight. That doesn't reveal too much right now. We don't have a trailer. We don't got nothing. But I don't know. I hope they go gritty, but I'm open to anything at this point. I really am.
Yeah, my go-to is to go for gritty as well. But you've made a good point, because if you look at the shows flanking it on either side, you've got Miss Marvel and She-Hulk, and we don't know what Disney are going to offer us yet. I guess we have to wait until we see the Winter Soldier and Falcon, that series, and WandaVision. We kind of get to see the tone, but if you look at the three that got announced at once, which was Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk, Moon Knight sticks out like a sore thumb in that. You know what I mean?
That is true. That one's the most the darkest out of the three. Yeah.
So I wonder if they do use him, like that series, to kind of cut the cut the style and design of the shows. Or as you say, maybe it is a lighter romp. I don't want to say romp because it just sounds so
adventure, whatever.
But
it's funny because Moon Knight is not always like, I tried to take the more New York City film noir type of look, but there really is a whole adventure Egyptian side to Moon Knight, and with very Indiana Jones type stuff. I mean, you have his the Khonshu and the statue of Khonshu, and what it looks like could be straight out of like the Temple of Doom, a Steven Spielberg movie, and that's dark, and it takes itself a little seriously, but it's an action adventure, so it could really go either way.
I think there's been a little clue in that. You mentioned the logo, Moon Knight. If you do look closely, you can see hieroglyphs in there. So we're hoping that they are going to keep that Egyptian kind of angle to it. You'd hope.
Yeah. I mean, with a show, which is more than just a 2-hour feature, you have a lot of material to dive into. I mean, even if it's just 9 episodes, that's like 9 hours of content. Like, you can't really skip over like a key part of the character at that point. You're going to run out of material.
I mean, that's why I love the TV shows over a film, and the mere fact that you get 9 hours of it. We'll have 9 hours of Mooney, which is fantastic. Look, one final thing, Caden, before we dive into the Moon Knight fan film of yours. I just wanted to ask your influences. So who would you say you're most influenced by, or you don't have to be directly influenced. Who did you like growing up, and filmmakers?
I mean, I gotta say J.J. Abrams.
Okay.
J.J. is my, I guess when his Star Trek movies and Super 8, and I watched Lost, when all of that was coming out, I really latched onto those and started watching all the bonus features, and like, who's the guy that made all this? J.J. Abrams. Wow, what a cool guy, what a cool name, and like watched all his interviews and was like, that's the guy I want to be when I grow up. I just got to get curly hair and some glasses and lose a few pounds, but like, I'm on my way there,
Well, you've got the beret, and you've got the pencil thin moustache, and you've got the turtleneck. So
I'm getting there. But yeah, JJ is a big influence of mine, and just how he he makes really big action movies, but puts character first.
Yeah.
I love his style. Christopher Nolan is a big guy for me.
He's good.
Those are kind of like my main two guys. Recently, I've really started to admire the works of David Fincher, the director.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I didn't really think about it, but I looked back one day and realized that every single movie I've seen of his is like the best movie ever. So,
so who's that? What's that? That's 7, right? And
yeah,
I know Alien 3 is the only other one I know. What are the other?
Alien 3 is like his redheaded stepchild that he wants everyone to forget about.
I liked it. Have you seen the director's cut?
No, I have not actually. I saw the theatrical cut, and I was like, yeah, I can understand why he disowned this a little bit.
Yeah.
It's actually, not terrible.
It's not terrible, but I urge you, the director's cut, it is fantastic. It's good. Yeah.
Maybe watch it. I'm a huge Alien fan, so
me too.
Might be worth looking into. But he did like The Social Network. He's done on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Benjamin Button, Zodiac. He's got Fight Club. Got a lot of good big ones on the list.
Just a couple of little independent films there.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's heard of them, but yeah, they'll be big one day. You watch.
All right. Well, Caden, how about we hang tight? Why don't you go grab your crescent blades? Suit up. Right. Look, I'll grab my my hatchet and what else? And my crowbar. And Loonies, we'll just go to a quick break just to hear from a couple of our fellow collective members. And when we come back, let's get into it, Caden. Let's start talking about this Moon Knight fan film.
I'm ready.
Alrighty, we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
And we're hosts of Capes on the Couch, the podcast where comics get counseling.
Superheroes don't always get to go home happy. That's where we come in.
We offer psychiatric and mental health analysis of comic book characters.
So check us out at capesonthecouch.live and across all social media platforms at Capes on the Couch.
We Are Venomaniacs is the Venom Site official podcast for all of your symbiote news, reviews, and point of views about Venom-related comics, movies, television, animation, and merchandise. We are available on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Play Music, and YouTube. Join us, won't you?
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 125, and I am with very special guest Caden Butera, director, writer, filmmaker for the Moon Knight fan film from Paradox Studios. Caden, we've had a little bit of a powwow about, how you got into filmmaking and Paradox Studios and such. Now this is the main event. This is the Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier,
oh, man, I'm ready.
We are going to look at his a Moon Knight fan film. Now, Loonies, if you haven't seen it, links in the show notes provided. Just pause the podcast right now. Go have a watch for 17 and a half minutes. Come back and continue. Caden, I guess I wanted to start out this with a basic synopsis for this. This is great. I've watched this a few times. So for Loonies out there, and please jump in, Caden, as well. Basically, what we see is we get an introduction to. At first, it's Stephen Grant in Roxxon, the Roxxon Enterprise or corporation. We get an introduction to Stephen Grant. He talks to his colleague Frank. There's a bit of an exchange of inside information and how Stephen can use that in his pursuits as a vigilante, I guess, further down the track. Then there's really there's him surveilling, as well as there's a bit of an inner turmoil. We do get a sense of the identities playing out, Caden, with the three of them. There are four. We see the fourth one, Moon Knight, later on. There's a bit of a struggle in there. There's a glimpse of Marlene as well, which appears that she has passed in this universe of Moon Knight.
Right.
And then we do get a a beautifully choreographed action sequence of Moon Knight in action, and we see Moon Knight, which we'll dwell upon, Caden, as well. There's a lot of discussion with that, but don't worry, a lot of a good and exciting discussion. So, so that's basically the synopsis of it. So, having said that, Caden, first off, I wanted to ask the origin of how did you come up with this story? Like, what did you want to achieve with these 17 minutes, and what were you trying to tell?
So, I mean, I guess I was fortunate enough to be. I started reading Moon Knight with Moon Knight #1 from Doug Moach from 1981, was it?
1980. Yes. Close, yeah.
What? Which one?
Sorry, 1980. Yeah.
Oh,
so that's just the geek in me. Don't worry.
Dang it! I was so close. Which I know is not his first appearance, which I know is Werewolf by Night #39.
32. Oh.
Yeah. Dang it. Okay. Well, anyway, I went to like my local comic shop when I was like 8th grade, and it was like, who is this guy? I like this guy's outfit, and basically just like bought 1 through like 22 of the original like back issue comic books, and just like read all of those religiously, and basically I read all of those, and then those were, and I read them multiple times because I thought they were great, and I also ran out of the other comics in the comic shop, and that was basically, that's my version of Moon Knight, is the I guess the OG. When Doug Moach, the creator, was writing it, and it was him, Mark Spector, most New York based, as basically an agent of espionage in a lot of ways, just grabbing intel from his various identities to come together as his fourth Moon Knight and take down crime. I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever, and I think it's really unique. I mean, a lot of superheroes are really cool because of the powers that they have that set them apart, or the costume they have that set them apart. But this guy's like behaviors and tactics were something I'd never really seen in another superhero before. So I gravitated towards that a lot. And that was from the get-go the main thing I wanted to put into the movie. Was my version of Moon Knight is a guy who basically has 3 identities that uses it to take down crime in some form or fashion. That being said, I've also read The Bottom.
Yes.
And that is, for those who don't know, just like the grittiest, hardcore, tormented soul version of Moon Knight. Like, he's been Moon Knight for years. His hair is growing out. He's got a beard, and he's handicapped.
It's so dark. It's so
beat
dark.
His ass.
Yeah.
And he's like addicted to pills.
Yeah.
And he's also suffering from like is Khonshu real, or is it completely in his head? Is he going crazy? And like, that's super interesting too. So I tried to make kind of a love child of those two things, for better or worse. But basically, my version of Moon Knight, which, you know, full disclosure, might be a little divisive, but my version in the movie is basically Moon Knight has been Moon Knight for years, and at some point down the road, Marlene has been killed, and basically it seems like the one thing that he really cared about, disregarding Frenchie, who doesn't really, I guess, exist in my version, and taking that away, what does a guy like that look like off the hinges? So he's still trying to grasp at fighting down crime, but what's his motive for crime? It's not for justice anymore. It's just for plain old, I want to get out on the streets and just punch my anger away.
Yeah.
And he's doing it he's not even really a good guy in my version.
Yeah. No.
You know, he's kind of like looking for his latest like dopamine kick, you know, he uses his intellect and his problems to track down people so he can just beat the shit out of people.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean the action scenes as well. He's he even lets out a guttural kind of roar. He's kind of quite bestial in it and quite vicious in his actions. So you certainly captured a different side, a much darker side to him there. I really liked in it. You mentioned about the Doug Mensch run and his techniques and tactics, which are really cool. And in the Mensch run, you generally, with Jake Lockley, you generally see him. He's the guy that gets the intel off the street. And he generally goes into Jenna's diner, maybe speaks to Crawley, speaks to Jenna. But I really liked how you did it here in your short film because... Number one, you have an economy of time, right? So a 17-minute film. What I found was really cool is that, and it's scary because it's true, cab drivers, So when the two goons go in the back seat, they're just not mouthing, having a conversation as if Jake wasn't there because no one ever notices the cab driver, right? They're kind of
invisible.
They're invisible. And I love that fact that he uses that element to kind of gain intel. So we get a very perceptive portrayal of Jake Lockley in this film. Really cool indeed. Stephen Grant at the beginning, there is he actually serves quite a good purpose as well because there is that short interchange with his colleague in the lift, and so he's still kind of hunting for leads.
Right, he's doing some bigger stuff as well. Yeah. And so you chose to have him as part of the Roxxon Enterprises? Oh, I mean, the idea was, it's funny that you said that earlier. You said that he's working at the Roxxon Enterprises. That wasn't exactly the plan. Oh. The plan was that he's just a stockbroker and one of his clientele is Roxxon. Right. But it could very well be interpreted that way as well. I mean, I have basically, in my mind, generic stockbroker building. So it could be anything you want, really.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, right. And I actually just want to a little shout out to the lead actor there. I recognize his surname Altavers.
Tim Altavers.
Altavers, yeah. Very good. Yeah. Very good. He's got the build. Yeah. I think he's got the look. So how did you come across that gentleman? Is he?
Yeah. So fun story about that is that he has done very little acting at all. In fact, he is a physical trainer at the gym 10 minutes away from my house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
and basically, he does a lot of martial arts. Is legitimately trained in Taekwondo and other things that I don't remember. Sorry, Tim. But he's like the real deal, and he's the nicest guy ever. And I'd been doing like a sci-fi short film before Moon Knight, and he reached out to me one day. He was like, "Hey, if you ever need like a dude to like do some stuff, let me know." And he this was just through Messenger. I was like, "Yeah, okay, dude, whatever." And then one day I was doing a film event, and then frickin' Tim Altavers and all his glory walks up to me in person. He's like, "Hey, I'm the guy who messaged you," and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna be in something." Because like when you see him in real life, he is a tall, big dude. Yeah. He's also the nicest guy ever, but man, is he an intimidating dude. Wow. And so I was like, how do I put this guy in something? And so sure enough, after I was developing the Moon Knight thing, I was like, who am I gonna get to play as this guy? I probably him, but I mean, I don't know. Can he act? Can he do this? So I basically had him audition. He auditioned. And like dressed up in his Stephen Grant suit and like smoked a cigar for his audition, which is like not even something you need to do. I was like, okay, this guy is pretty good. And then he killed the audition, and I was like, I think this is our Mark Spector here. And funny enough, completely on accident, actually, he looks like Mark Spector in The Bottom before he's like cut his hair and stuff like that. Like he kind of looks like that. And so I like to say I did that on purpose, but that was just like, destiny or whatever.
that shot of the three of them, with the downlight onto them, and Mark Spector in the middle. Yeah, definitely, because he had the hair kind of disheveled and stuff. So really cool. Did Tim? Did he do? Was he in the suit in that fight scene?
Yes, he was.
Wow, so he did all that. Yeah.
Yeah, he did everything, and he is a tremendous physical actor and actually aided in the choreography as well. And the funny thing is that I made his life so hard because we learned the fight scene and did all this stuff, and I was like, okay, time for your mask, which has small eye slits and a bright blue light for you. And so he puts this on, and he can you can barely see anything. I mean, in my opinion, it looks cool. But it practically is not something you want to use to fight crime, and I'll tell you that. Yeah. Because he, it cut his vision down to maybe 30%. And, he did not hurt anyone. He was somehow still pulling his punches and nailing it. But it did, hinder his ability to do things as it would. And so I've seen some comments like, oh, the fight choreography is slow or something like that. I'm like, ugh, it's because our lead actor can't see. Because in real life, if he did not have that on, he is a freaking John Wick. He is the real deal. And he's amazing. So any possible thing or mistake you see in that fight scene is totally my fault because I forced him to wear this clunky helmet. So that's just a little disclaimer for him. But anyway,
if only Moon Knight had a costume like the black costume for Daredevil, then I'm sure Tim would have just loved that, and it would have just been free reign. Yeah. I
mean, I kind of was thinking of something like that when I first was writing the script. I was almost thinking maybe this is a really early origin story before he even has a suit. But then I had a feeling that just it wasn't making me as excited. I wanted to see him don something. And so, we landed on basically a version of Moon Knight where he's not even wearing the cloak of Khonshu anymore because maybe he's moved past it because he's so angry and it's been so many years. And I went with the more dark colored trench coat to channel that film noir vibe with select bits of white. And that was, a decisive decision to say the least because, reading the comments and all around, a lot of people, really wanted to see that iconic white suit. And I totally, in a lot of ways, agree with them. It was an interesting decision to make. And at the end of the day, for the movie we made, I'm glad I will stick with the decision.
Yep.
But for the next one, which is I'll get to in a second, we actually redesigned him and gave him the traditional white, ancient-looking suit, which is kind of cool.
So, because this was I was going to get to it for the feedback comments, but it is such a big thing, so it's good to discuss it now. And so that decision to basically what you've done, you've inverted it because his face is white and the cloak is black. So that was a point. So that was done purely to make it a point of difference from the main Moon Knight.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways. Also, funny enough, one of the things I was trying to avoid was when you take that the pure comic book version and translate it into real life, you kind of run the risk of that Klansman vibe, just a little bit. And we definitely didn't want to do that.
No.
And walk around with that in the city that we were shooting in. But we tried a couple ways. We're oh, what if we just did subtle hints of this and that? And what if we didn't even do a hood? And we're oh, we can't do that. And oh, this white, it's gonna really look this way. And we basically we decided on what works best for the tone of this and for the story of this. And at this point, because he's such a tormented, lost soul, he probably wouldn't be donning the cloak of Khonshu at this point. For our version, we took a different approach. I like the explanation as well in the film. All the loonies know about the white and it being explained. The Houston run actually coined it with
I like to see him coming. I like the idea of like you can see the blood better on the way, which is really cool. Look, also as well, Caden, a lot of people found that take awesome as well. I mean, it was a different gritty look on Moon Knight. I'd like to call out the scene where the two, I like to call them just goons or thugs, were
that's what they are in the script.
Just
Thug 1 and Thug 2.
Thug 1 and Thug 2. Just packing the stuff in the truck, and the first sight of Moon Knight, it's a bit, it is a bit freaky. You turn around and there's this dude just hunched over, on top of something, just looking at you in a hood. So I think it served the purpose really well with Moon Knight. And again, a lot of fans found it quite refreshing, something different. And some
people did.
and if anything as well, like you can say that is your mark and that's your take on Moon Knight, which is quite a distinct thing. So hats off to you for doing that. I think that's really great.
Well, thank you. I mean, I totally respect all the people who didn't like it, and there's definitely a lot. I mean, I've read every YouTube comment, every one, for better or worse. There's a lot of vocal part of the fan base that really was like, clearly are not a Moon Knight fan. I'm like, but I mean, some people identify certain characters with certain things, and it's like, for me, the costume isn't as important as his main method of tracking down crime. And someone else might be like, oh, that's not what makes Moon Knight cool. What makes him cool is his Egyptian backstory. And then someone might be like, oh, you idiot, that's not true. It's actually his like billionaire status as a stockbroker. Everyone has their one main thing that defines their character. Mine happened to be it wasn't that important to have him wearing white. And then other people were like, you screwed up. I was like, maybe I did.
No, I don't. You should not apologize for anything like that as well. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinions, and great, and everyone does love the character in their own way. But at the end of the day, Caden, you're the guy putting in the blood, sweat, and tears into this film. You get to make the decisions, so you do what you do, and that's fine. And I think that's and I think that's a great thing. I think it's a nice bold choice. There's logic to it as well. I like the fact that it's kind of inverted. It's a deliberate inversion of it. So I mean, we'll get to. I'm very excited. We just got a scoop here, Loonies. There's a sequel or something. Caden's just mentioned about Moon Knight. So
right.
But anyway, I just wanted to also just talk about the choreography. You mentioned Tim was very much a part of that. So how did you? I mean, it looks like a very difficult thing to do. Not only that, firearms as well. Getting someone a safety. I don't know. I'm sure a safety firearms person there. How did that all kind of come about? That's a lot of work involved.
I mean, it was definitely the largest challenge of the production was that fight scene, and it was also my first big fight scene, I guess, I've ever really done. I've seen a lot of fight scenes, I've watched a lot of fight scenes, but I'd never actually tried to execute one and what that took. And basically, it was, it really goes down to the four other people who aren't me that made that happen. That would be like the guy who gets his leg cut off, spoiler alert. He was a main fight choreographer in that scene. His name's Max Gordon. We also had the guy who gets his head slammed into the nail on the wall. That guy's name is Jerry Bucksbaum, and he's our stunt coordinator. Has also all the special mats and the fake firearms, and has been in the business for many, many years. And so he's a crucial part of it, as is my friend Joe again. But I mean, it all started from we want to have a fight scene, and fight scene doesn't just mean a bunch of kicks and a bunch of punches. How do we approach this as not necessarily a fight scene, but a character moment that happens to have fighting in it? So that's why we really tried to incorporate Moon Knight, in some ways taking his time, actually getting hit by letting himself get hit, because he's there for just the catharsis of it all. Really savoring moments. He's in no rush. If he dies tonight, oh well, you know.
yeah.
And so we really tried to channel his brutality, and his morals in a sense are very kind of Punisher-esque, where he doesn't really give a shit if you're down on the ground and you're disarmed, you know. And that's this version, you know, of our character.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, we really tried to approach it as character first. And then after that, it was just what's visually interesting. Not a lot of punches. How about we incorporate the environment around them? How about someone picks up a beer bottle or a crowbar, or someone gets pushed into the wall? We better find a place that has a wall, which I can't really think of a place that wouldn't. But you know, really try to ground things like that. And like, oh man, this scene's happening for a while in the same place. How do we add a visual moment that spices things up? How about we add the element of water into the scene and have someone run over a hydrant? So then we have water pouring down, and he doesn't seem to care. And fun fact, it was like, I don't know, 20 degrees outside when we were filming that. And the water was literally freezing to the suit.
Oh, no.
Yeah, another sorry for my actress there. But yeah, just really a combination of all those things.
Yeah.
And then once we actually have a breakdown that Joe and I make, then we actually go into a room and go like, okay, you're man 1, you're man 2, you're man 3, and so forth. Okay, man 3 charges at man 2 with a knife. But remember, man 2 is back there because this just happened. And man 4, he's really angry at man 5 because, like, it's basically we have this whole dance of stuff. Yeah. And then halfway through we go like, wait a second, we can't have man 5 charged forward with a knife because he just got shot in that other scene. Shoot, well, we could make the guy who charges with the knife man 2, right? Because he should be fine. Like, let's totally write that down. And then basically what we want to avoid is, like, you see in movies, like, bad guys, like, waiting to punch. Try to avoid that as much as possible. But at the end of the day, you know, it's one guy on, I think, 8. And, you know, you have to take a little creativity to make it so they charge at him maybe 2 or 3 at a time most. Well, which is, you know, it's a Hollywood thing, but like if they all charge at him at once, I mean,
true.
This fight's over.
And, look, I think you've done well as well. Like when Moon Knight kind of tackles one, like say the guy that gets a nail in the face, I don't think he's coming back up after that, anytime soon, right? So he can lay down for a bit, and the other guy, the guy gets his leg chopped off. He's not going anywhere.
That's what we try to do. And so when Moon Knight does this, would that person, should they get up or should they be dead? He could probably get up from that. Like that's kind of the type of conversations we'd have. And you know, if you really look carefully, you will notice, you know, there's mistakes and everything. But yeah, that's kind of what the process was. And again, having amazing people like the Jerry Buxbaum and the Max Jordan and the Tim all make it come together was really exciting. And we shot it with technically 3 cameras at one point. Because, you know, we had that entire fight scene as a general rule. Every player in that memorized it like a dance, and they could do it from start to finish. And it's a little exhausting. And when you're outside, too, in the freezing cold, you don't want to do it a million times. So we basically did it a couple times all at once, shot it with 3 different cameras at the same time. And then later, for some of the special shots, went in and got, say, that slow-mo with a fist coming down. Got the insert shot of this or that, and that's kind of the approach we took for it.
That's so cool to think like that the guys did it like a couple of times, and because it looks so fluid. Obviously, as a viewer, you just watch it and it just seems like it's all done all at once. But to think that they had to redo it again, and I know this is the magic of film. You know, this happens, but it's funny to think that as an actor, you have to kind of repeat it, and as you say, you have to know your moves, and then getting those
guys and get back up for the next take. You know,
no, that's brilliant. The crescent blades as well. Look, I like to personally think myself, because one of my favourite Moon Knight weapons are the cestus, which is slightly different. It's a spiked knuckles. You see it on the
those are cool.
because that's, I mean, I mean, there's only one outcome for something like that if you get punched with it. You know what I mean? It's very brutal. But I love the play on that with, I noticed in the credits, you got those blades from particular props, Thor.
Right, yeah, we got it from a Thor Hammers, who makes like prop replicas. I think they actually just announced that they're taking a break or something like now, so I don't know if I'm supposed to advertise for them. But regardless, the guy who did it is just this amazing, awesome guy who basically, I drew him a design, Clay Williams, and then he and he basically 3D did all that.
Oh,
yeah, he made it.
It wasn't just off the shelf.
What was that?
It wasn't just off the shelf. You actually designed it.
Yeah, no, we designed it, and based off of the what did you call the brass knuckles?
Cestus. Yeah.
Yeah, the Cesters, a mixture of that and his crescent blades, batarangs.
I love it.
Sort of speak.
Oh, none of that talk.
You know, they're basically batarangs that are moon shaped. Let's be honest. Batarangs came first. Let's be fair. But yeah. So I basically did that version, and there's actually I have like Egyptian writing on it.
Oh wow!
Mostly there's some Egyptian stuff engraved. Cool. I mean, you'd never see it, but I was like, might as well, you know. And it says Fist of Khonshu on it, I think.
Oh, the devil's in the details. You've got to have that sort of stuff, you know. That's
really
cool.
I mean, no one's noticed it. I don't think anyone watching YouTube probably paused it and happened to speak Egyptian anyway. Or
Hang on, I recognize those hieroglyphs. Fist of Khonshu. Yeah. What the?
Yeah, and of course, there's no actual Arabic word for Khonshu. I don't think so. I went with Moon God, or I don't remember what it was, but it was a fun little trivia to put in there.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah,
yeah. The locations as well. So speaking about the fight scenes, but even expanding onto that with Jake walking through the streets of New York, right? You guys were on location. Is that? I wish we were. Yeah, you were.
I mean, huh? I hope that you think that we were on New York.
Okay.
That was the goal. We are actually filming in Spokane, Washington, which is basically a 40-minute drive from where I live and where a lot of our actors actually live. It's just Seattle, Washington. It's a a semi-big city, you know, and we just found the parts of it that look the grittiest and location scouted for. If we shoot it at this angle at night, it might pass for New York, yeah. Those type of conversations.
So most of it was in Washington, like the fight scene where the cab drops the two goons off and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All of it was in Washington or North Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah. So not really a New Yorky type look, but with some strategic location scouting, we tried our best.
I think it's great. I mean, one of the things that really impressed me as well, and I want to ask you because it's crazy in a fan film. Number one, I found the light again. Like I said, the lighting in the production seemed top notch. The lighting was fantastic. But there's this shot, overhead shot of the whole city. Did you guys get a helicopter? What's going on there?
Yeah. So full disclosure, sometimes. To stretch your production value, you go to stock footage. So
okay.
That over city shot is actually something I purchased. I think it's the city of Chicago, and then I cropped in, add the grade so it matched with the rest of the footage.
Wow.
And I mean sometimes it does help with you're trying to achieve that big production look. Going to a stock footage and manipulated someone else's shot stuff, it helps a little bit.
I mean, you gave it away there with changing the grade because it did seem so seamless, and I was convinced that was yours. It's not like the old MacGyver TV show. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Where they cut to something that's completely. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, a lot of old shows used to.
Old shows, they did it. I remember watching a MacGyver show, and they cut to the original Italian Job movie, like the car chase with the Mini Coopers.
Yeah.
I'm going, hang on, that's a bloody Italian Job. What's it doing in MacGyver? Yeah. So they did. I laughed at the stock footage there, but no, that one was wow. Okay, I actually thought that you got a drone or something.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Fantastic.
I'm glad it didn't completely stick out. That and then technically the moon shot, where the clouds in a time lapse are going over the moon. That was also stock footage. At that point, I didn't even know that wasn't even in the storyboards. I just realized I need some moon imagery here to transition, and so after the fact was like, should I spend money and get a crew and set up my camera, or should I just drop a few bucks and purchase the stock footage, and I felt like that blended seamlessly as well, with some editing tricks and stuff like that. But yeah.
No, fantastic. No, geez, that's no really good. Also, how long? I mean, one of the questions again. It's interesting to know, like, just from a technical process point of view, say pre-production, production, and post-production. How long did it take from go to woe to create this?
That's a good question. I mean, from its conception as a script all the way to the release was probably about 2.5 months, maybe. Okay. Maybe a little more. I mean, I think that's about right. The actual shooting days were maybe we did a lot of full days and some half days, but together it was probably a total of, I think, 6 full days of shooting.
Right.
And 6 full days, and yeah, I think that's about right. And then I edited it a lot quicker than I normally do, because I was just like, I was editing after every single day and like really want to see it was coming together, because I was trying a lot of new things. Like I said, I'd never done a fight scene before, so I was really nervous. Am I going to pull this off? And so I really cut the movie quicker than I had on most projects. And then like maybe a month in post-production, my brother actually wrote the original music, the score for the
wow.
And so he had about like a month to write all the original music in there, and then we had the premiere and like soon after, and that was it. So that was actually for a big part of my life only lasted not too long, actually, relatively speaking.
Did you have a deadline? Well, were you working towards a particular deadline, or?
I don't think I really did. I mean, I always try to set one, because if you don't have a deadline for something, then you just never do it, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I say a deadline out loud to force myself to follow it. He's like, oh, well, I told Tim that it'd be done this way, so I better get it done by then, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but I wasn't actually fighting for the clock. Like, I couldn't actually really, I don't think I can submit it to film festivals, because it's a copywritten character, So it was basically a race against my own clock to make a Moon Knight movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's a fantastic one. I can't wait to hear these other projects that you've got coming up. Caden, just one final question about the movie before we get into some what I like to call the spectacles, the plugs and the shout outs. Any on-set or offset anecdotes during filming? There's always little stories here and there, I know, when because you get a band of people together, you're in a cause, it's a magnified situation. I'm sure very many late nights, cold weather, you've got the director splashing cold water on you as you do a fight scene. Are there any funny stories to take away, or you can divulge?
Yeah, let me think here. I mean, there's probably the most memorable days on that set were when we had the rain tower, and Jerry was running the rain, and it was just freezing, and it was the thug character that gets beaten multiple times had to lay down on that cold pavement and have freezing water just poured down on him. We had him wear, or Jerry had him wear a wetsuit under there, under his thug outfit. So like beneath his like thuggy leather jacket, he has like a bright pink, whatever it's called under there, and it's just like it looks really silly until he tucks it in. But yeah, I mean those were the craziest moments, and once we wrapped. The street froze. The water on that truck, which we needed to drive home, froze to the windshield, and we didn't expect that at all. We didn't have any like ice sticks, right?
Yeah.
So we literally used the movie slate, like the clapper that you see audio.
Yeah.
We have a cheap one. It wasn't like a super expensive one, but we used that to like shave off the ice, and that was when I realized that we are a low budget production.
I thought you were going to say you got the old crescent blades out. You started.
That actually would have worked too. That wouldn't have been a bad option either. At that point it was like 3 a.m, and we're like,
wow.
we're done.
I know you guys do late nights and stuff, to get the right look and to get actors, cast and crew. You guys do a tough gig.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So and sorry, just finally before we go, so the premiere you mentioned. So tell us about that. How, you got the cast and crew together.
So we had we had a local theater in Spokane reach out to us and basically say, like, because we posted a lot of behind the scenes photos because it was looking all exciting. We had a superhero in an alleyway, so we couldn't help but post those to the Facebooks and the Instagrams and make it look exciting. And eventually a theater owner got word of it and asked if he could premiere it at the theater. And at first I was like, am I gonna get sued by Marvel? But I looked into it, and we didn't make a profit off of it, as in if we didn't charge admission and it's strictly to just screen the movie, we were fine. So we screened the movie, and we basically ended up having to play it 3 times because we filled up 3 theaters worth, which was crazy. So we had it was a real fun evening. It was actually my birthday too. my 21st birthday. So it was a fun ordeal. We got to see it on the big screen, see all the mistakes in big screen format. But it was a fun premiere. And then that night we did the countdown and released it onto YouTube, and it's like, all right, everyone share it. Maybe we can reach 1,000 views, and then 205,000 views later, here we are.
Ooh, man, man.
Exciting,
How cool is that? And like we said at the top of the show, that it just blew out of the gates. I'm sure, Caden, you're going to get a lot more views in the lead up to the Disney Plus.
I was kind of thinking that might be case. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course we're going to give it a massive plug as well. We're starved of Moon Knight stuff, and this is right up our alley. So right up our blood-soaked crowbar alley. So it was really fantastic. Caden, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been so enjoyable talking to you, getting an insight into the film as well. Revealing a few secrets on it. So really cool. Before you go, of course, I want to give a shout out to yourself as well as other projects that you've got in the works. You've tantalized us with a couple.
Right.
Actually, tell us about those first before your contact details.
Right. So I guess the main what we worked on after Moon Knight, which is we've already finished filming for the most part, is the Prowler, which for those who don't know is another even more obscure, I think at this point, Marvel Spider-Man character, who the version we're doing started off as a villain and then turned into a hero with the help of Spider-Man. And we've kind of switched it to where instead of the help of Spider-Man, it's the help of Moon Knight. And so we basically, Spider-Man kind of plays a mentor character in Prowler's origin story, and we've swapped him out with Moon Knight and taken a few other creative liberties, and we've basically made a kind of a action comedy superhero movie of a guy who basically makes a cool outfit to rob and get money, and then realize that like maybe he shouldn't be doing that, and then gets forced into a situation where he actually has to make a choice. Is he going to be a burglar or is he going to be a hero? And that's kind of the pitch for the short. So that's been really fun. And it's that one we actually it's been taken a lot longer to edit than normal because I've been caught up in some other stuff. We have a feature film we're working on actually. And so it's a kind of crazy mixed bag of what do I want to work on today. But long story short, we're still working on the Prowler. We might have a few shooting days. And Moon Knight will be in there with a new costume, donning the pure white this time. And we got a really cool redesign. I'm really proud of it.
Wow.
Me and my friend Joe Cruzado Wagner and Kathy Swanson. I got to drop those names because they're my favorite. We put together what I think is a really cool suit, and that picture is actually already out online. I think comicbook.com wrote an article about the outfit because I just put it on Instagram, and then somehow they found it. And yeah. So I have that picture too. I can send it to you.
Oh, please do. But
yeah, it's my phone lock screen for a while. but yeah, that'll be coming out soon. I can't say when yet. Because I don't know truthfully. But yeah, that's what we're working on, and then eventually a feature film called E =. And I'll stop pitching my stuff to you.
No. Please let us know about the what's a feature film? How's that going? Is there a release kind of date for that, or can you divulge much?
I mean, at this point we're still knee deep in pre-production, so we're on like a draft 532 of the script. Hopefully it's the last one. We're doing some rewrites on the script and really making sure we have the best story possible to tell before we just start filming it. And so we're into pre-production of that. We're working with an amazing producer who's helping us along the way. And the plan is to start principal photography at the end of this summer and hopefully release it on some form of streaming platform. We're not sure yet, but it's another character-driven piece. This time, a sci-fi sort of action drama, and I'm super excited about that. I can't say too much about it because there's a lot of things still up in the air. But yeah, really looking forward to that soon.
Well, fantastic. We're going to obviously include all of Caden's relative links in the show notes, so go check it out, Loonies. Fantastic, Caden. I can't wait. And all the very best for those future endeavours. I hope you keep in touch with us as well. Would love to have you on the show whenever you're available as well. Love to talk about the Moon Knight and Prowler coming on. It's very exciting. It sounds like very exciting times for you. So
yeah, it definitely is. I mean, my videos get comments now on YouTube. It's crazy. I get to read what other people think, for better or worse. It's a fun time and lots of things in the works. So
yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you got to take the good, the bad with the good as well. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of flack. But you guys are doing a great job. Like I said, it's phenomenal stuff with Moon Knight. Can only just wait with bated breath for the sequel. So most excellent stuff. So Caden, where can Loonies find you if they want to contact you or check up on your stuff?
So I mean, I guess my Instagram is a really good place. That's where I also post a lot of my my photography as well, and some cool BTS stuff of film projects. But that's just my first and last name with 2 underscores in between. And my Instagram's good. I have a Facebook page for Paradox Studios, and those are the 2 primary places. And of course, my YouTube channel, where you can find the Moon Knight film and where you'll be able to find the Prowler film whenever that may be. Fantastic.
Well, Loonies, please check it out. Like I said, see this episode as a complimentary piece to this short film. Looks like we've got another Moon Knight sequel fan film on the way from Caden, so can't wait for that, and the Prowler film as well. Just with shout-outs as well, a little quick one, just since we're talking about writing and filmmaking here, Caden, I wanted to give another shout-out. So, Loonies, you may have seen on our newsletter, we are undertaking a massive project in association with Paint Monk's Library. It's a website which does all sorts of reviews. We are going to be reviewing all the Moon Knight comics, and I mean all of them, from 1975 till present day.
Wow.
So please, that will be. Oh, I was about to say, please check it out. It's not ready yet. It's going to be January 2020. We roll it out. We have a great bunch of loonies. I like to call us ITK scribes. We've got a little, writing room in the works. Paint Monk Library, hosted by Wally Monk. A big shout out to our ITK scribes, Harrison John Royal Smith, Josh Fielding, Justin Osgood, and Russell Moran. You guys are brilliant, and you guys are pumping out some great reviews. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in there as well, write a couple of reviews, keep it going. But it's essentially one review a week, starting from January 2020, and so that'll be just under 400 odd issues to review. So
that's crazy.
A lot of fun, yeah.
That's awesome.
and it's kind of complimentary as well with our podcast, because we are reviewing the comic books as well. So check out Paint Monk's Library anyway. Heaps of great reviews there. Get us familiar with the website. It's all good, great stuff. Well, next phase, also, the phase of the moon will be a waxing crescent. So we have been blessed with a full moon tonight. Next week will be a waxing crescent, which means it is our Lunapic Classic Run review, and we'll be reviewing Moon Knight. I'm sure you have this, Caden. Moon Knight Volume 1 by Doug Mensch, Issue 10. It includes the Midnight Man and Bushman in there. Yep. So a guest reviewer, one of our good loonies, Noel Looney Tunes Tate, he'll be joining us for that review. That should be fun. Finally, as well, just a little plug to the collective. We are part of the Collective Network. A whole heap of great podcasts. Please give it a listen. No Prowler podcast yet, Caden, but hopefully in the works.
One day, right?
One day. But there are the likes of there's a Namor podcast. There is the Iron Fist podcast, Ghost Rider, Venom. It's all there. All Venom there, Caden. You should check it out. We are Venomaniacs. Really good guys there. So go check us out. We all have the same kind of ideals and where we want to go, and we just support each other, so go check them out. Finally, you can contact us on email, itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, all that pizzazz. All that's in the show notes. I'm not going to bore you with that. And finally, iTunes ratings. Please give us a rating if you can. If you want us to do something on the show, let us know. If we thought it was a bad episode or a bad give us a bad rating, please do as well. We're always amenable to change and to improve ourselves. Caden, thank you once again for an awesome conversation. Again, all the very best. You're a top bloke, and you do marvelous stuff. I hope,
no pun intended, right?
Yeah. I hope you just keep on doing it. It's great.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It was fun to talk about Moon Knight. We can't really do that with a lot of people. At this point, he's still pretty obscure, so it's awesome to have conversations like this.
Fantastic. Oh, actually, a couple of things. Final things. Number one, I forgot to mention Bushman. Will we see Bushman? We saw him at the end of the first one. Will we see him in the second one?
I mean, I can't really say the Prowler is the second one. It's more like he's in there, but it's not really his story. So
okay, sure. I
don't know if I'm ever gonna continue anything with that. I mean, at that point, I kind of just put it in there to be a nice little nod to show that something bigger is happening behind all the bad guys stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's Moon Knight's main nemesis. So I mean, I felt like I had to put him in there somewhere, but do I actually have a big plan for him? I can't say I do.
Okay.
I'm not Kevin Feige. I don't have the 10-year span of plans.
Well, we hope that you do get the urge sometime down the track, because it's keep them coming, Caden. They're really great films so far. So big thank you. And finally, sorry, any more shout-outs that you want to give to your fantastic crew and cast?
I mean, everyone who worked on it deserves a shout-out. And that would take a while. So, I'll just be general and say I'm super thankful to everyone who came together and be a part of it. Whether they were film fans or Moon Knight fans or both, it was an awesome experience. And whether people like it or not is entitled to their opinion. But we had an awesome time making it, and and I'm really thankful for the experience. So huge shout out to all the people who worked on it or watched it and shared it. That was awesome too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Caden. All the very best. And as we always say, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later, loonies.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.